Welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith, and tonight we're out here in the shelter, and we're doing some line repair on a new used saw that we acquired. John over at Apple Machine in Falmouth there turned us on to this deal, and of course, he said, I got to handle. It's got to be. There's some tender care that's got to be applied to this thing. I just did get the 220 in, and I got the MC all ran out in a nice receptacle. My Sparky came over and he tied in everything, and we're running 100%. Things got some power, and so now we're trying to get it so that the hydraulics on it, so we can raise it and control the feed and stuff like that. The main problem we found was the line material for the hydraulics is just aged beyond, it's time to replace it. You cut it back, you put in your ferrule, and you slip in your center section, and it cracks again. Now the thing I found is a problem is this is old metric tubing. Okay, this is an Inco. This is another China Wonderland. Not to say that this saw I'm going to give it many years to come. I'm just going to do a few tune-ups here so that I can live with it. This is 12 millimeter, or excuse me, 10 millimeter OD, 6.5 millimeter ID, and can't seem to find that on the market. But what I did find is 10 millimeter with 233 thousandths ID, and I went ahead and picked up 3/8 ferrules to fit on the outside, and I'm running a reamer to ream out to put the inserts on the inside, because I can ream it out a quarter and I can force in the inserts that were there. So it's a little bit small on the ID, a little bit small on the OD, but the combination's still going to work. And also the ferrule supports are still small enough. There's still enough room in there. So we're going to be giving this a try, and we're stripping out the old unit. We're getting ready to pull out this line out of this section here. We're going to uncoil this, and we're going to start making up our first ends. So as we go, what we're doing is we're changing out metric line to US supplied line, and just a little bit of modification to the end, and we're gonna have something that we can be happy with. This line is also rated at 600 something PSI. Not that this thing actually needs to have that much, but it is the highest rating line, and it's a vacuum style line, because vacuum needs to be stouter than pressure. All right. We got into this panel here, and the valve comes up, and we snake this piece out. And we do have this thing unplugged, so we're safe and good to go. Now we know our piece is going to be about that long, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the end off, because this inner piece, we already have one that's in this piece here. We shoved that in there. And we can take that out again. Okay, that's an insert, and these we couldn't find readily available. What we did is we have a reamer, and we take that reamer and bore into that hole there, and then this is our ferrule that we're slipping over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this back with a razor knife, and then we're going to go in with the arbor press, and we set this down into a socket, and then we just push out our metal piece out of here, and then reuse this piece here. And this one's rounded because somebody couldn't get a good wrench in the box there, so they chose to mess up the hex instead of get the right wrench for the job. And so we're going to go ahead and switch that around, and we're going to put the good nut on the inside there, and we're going to use this on the outside where we can get another flat and actually get this used. And then our hose, we'll cut it to length plus a little bit. We're going to run it into place and we can cut that to length and then ream out the ends and put that together. So I'll be right back after I press this other ferrule out and we'll get the first line started in here. Alright, what we did is we took a little Albright chuck that we had and we put it in a nice 1/4 inch reamer, and we came in here to where we could ream the depth plus a little bit of our inside inserts here, and we don't want to lose those. Alright, so we got that depth right there. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to feed this up through the hole on this side to start out with, because we're going to go ahead and put this valve together out here. And then we're going to slide it in place, and then we can put the back one on, which is this line here. We went ahead and we cut each and every one of them. Now these hoses were real easy to cut, and this material right here is a bear to cut. And whether we actually have the same exact material, I'm not sure, but I'm working dimensions. So the size was fitting fine for me. And I just want to make sure I got a good nut for this position here. Alright, and I'm gonna try one of our ferrules, the new ferrules. I don't even know if one of the old ones there will slide over it. Could ream it, but with some, if these fit, then you can do this without having the old fittings in reality. So that's a plus. Okay, now we're going to push that all the way flush with the end. That's how it's supposed to be. And we're going to let this bottom out. We want some material on each side of that sleeve, but we're going to let that bottom out right into the holder here. Alright, now we want to get the right wrenches. It is metric, not American, so you want to get your 19 and your 16 millimeter. Fully engage the wrenches, and I don't really think there has to be that much pressure in on it. We're going to get the air nozzle, and we're going to rubber tipped air nozzle. We're going to come out here with our soap, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to close our valve and put pressure in on this side of the line, and we're going to soap test this fitting here, so we can, before we go anywhere, we want to make sure that we are sealing it off. Alright, get the air hose by you. Alright, and get some soap sprayed into there. Alright, that definitely would be leaking. We would see bubbles in there. Okay, open the valve. Alright, so our first fitting is good. So we're able to take metric line, throw it away. We can't, if we could get it, we'd use it. But I can't find it anywhere, and maybe I'm not searching hard enough or whatever. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's not readily available for me. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to snake this back in here. And we're going to put this together. And this line is a little bit firmer than the other line. I can tell that right now. Okay, we get these pieces sit down here. All right, now we're bringing in our second line now here. Now we're going to have to be making this bow in here like this. This is stouter line than the original line. And of course, I don't know how stout it was when that was brand new. But anyway, we're reaming in our second one here for the it's pretty tough plastic, okay? And we're blowing in the back side here because we want to eliminate any debris in there. Okay, none stuck in there. Alright, now this is the damaged one, but we can get to this one everywhere around here. So I'm going ahead and slide that on. Slide on the ferrule. The insert, push that right in there. Alright, hold that all the way in. Okay, now we're going to get the clips and we're going to remount these back up here where they're supposed to, and we may have to have some of this freedom come on up here. Alright, we're down here and we got these two pieces cut to the right length, and we're reaming out the last one. Then we're going to grab the air hose, we're going to blow through the one continuous loop we have so that we make sure that we don't get any of these particles going through, because I think that piston has got a one-way bleeder valve, so that when you lift it, you can lift it with the valve closed and it automatically bleeds to one side of this piston. At least this is my thinking. Whether it actually does or not, that we'll be testing that out, that theory out. I'm going to blow that before I put the ferrules and everything else in there. So I'll grab the air nozzle real quick. Okay, our valve is open. And we'll look for any debris coming out of here. No, looks pretty clean. Looks pretty clear. Alright. Alright, a nut on that one. A ferrule. You know, I learned that those were called a ferrule and the book calls them a sleeve. I just terminologies change also, you know, in time. I can't remember that name. Okay. Alright, now I remember that was the outside one there, and this one here went right into here first. And I turned that valve In fact, actually, I'm going to turn this a little bit more, and I just hope I don't snap it, but it's not comfortable enough for me. But like that would be. Alright, we lucked out. I mean, this box sticks out, so why not let the line stick out? This can't go into there, so why try to make it go into there? It hooks there, hooks there. We can put zip ties on here, and we can dress it off, and it'll be okay. You know, what the heck? Now this fitting here is going in. I hope it tightens up pretty quick, otherwise we may actually have to remount and put one of those other ferrules in there. That ferrule is not going to grab there. That nut is not doing the job. But this is actually, that's the fitting we had the problem with the nut. Or the ferrule. Alright. Let's see. Let's see if this other one's going to give us a problem too. If it's only the one. Alright, that one's tightening up. Okay. I have to use the wrench on that. Now this is the one I think we're gonna be entering the oil on this one here. Alright, so what we gotta do is we gotta take one of those old ferrules and we're gonna ream it out for 3/8 so it has a little bit fatter gap, because that's the problem. That's not fitting in there quite right. Okay, yeah, we've got our new lines run on here last night, and we kind of put the thing to bed, and we went to bed, and we came out here this morning. We're open up, and we just got the lights on and stuff like that, and I'm going, okay, we have a loop system here. Now let's think about what's in the loop. And we have a valve up there. We have two lines that come down. We feed the bottom and the top of this piston. Now you got, if you didn't have a free flowing piston in there, you would have to have that valve loosened to raise up the saw arm itself, because it would have back pressure against the valve if it was a closed loop. Well, in on the piston is a directional check valve, which is probably just a spring and a ball. That's the simplest way to make one, and more than likely they've taken the simple route here as well. So what we did is we have this valve open, and we're putting air to here, and it deadheads. It's locked, and the pressure is that's on the bottom side of the piston itself. But if we take and we put the air pressure to the top of the piston, we got air pressure coming all the way through the system. So that confirms our loop and that it has a check valve. Now we want to bleed, or we want to fill this entire system up with fluid so that we will have a working saw cylinder. And so what we got, and this is a metric fitting here as well. We got to figure out how we can pressurize hydraulic fluid into this port until it comes out of this port, disconnect our system, and screw that together. That's where we're at on the saw here. So I got to give that some thought and possibly come up with a fitting there. Well, we got a choice. We got this fitting here, or we can take this block off of here and we can go in here. Either one of these are metric, and I don't have a ton of that stuff here. What what I may do is I'm going to see what I have for a tap. It may be on that size there in my metric collection. If I can make up my own metric American fitting, then I can go ahead, and then I just got to come up with some kind of a barb and a pump. Alright. Alright, this is kind of what we came up with, and we went and we cleaned out. Actually, I do have to, you know, I don't brag about too much anything, but Eagle Company USA made this relatively inexpensive oil can, and I had two of them. I gave one to Mentor there before I left California, and I still have mine. It has gotten loosened up, and I've had to re-clean the tap, the thread holes, and everything else, but it's been a real good can. But I cleaned that out, and we're going to throw in some hydraulic oil in here, and this is what we're going to put in that hydraulic cylinder. And I got to thinking about this, and I think we were just trying to make things a little too hard. Sometimes you ever do that? You work real hard to make things hard for yourself. And we're going to try to keep it simple. All right. Alright, there we go. There's our pump and our oil supply. Now let's go over to the saw and put it into the cylinder itself. Okay, this is adding the oil, take 2. And we're almost cleaned up, ready to start again. We're able to fill the system here, and I'll show you how I do that, and I promise to act surprised again. But after we did all of that, we test lowered and raised this thing, and we had this hose slip right out of the fitting there. It had a false tension, and what it is, this is the block that goes in on that hydraulic cylinder there, and this popped out of here. This thread was so deep, and the thickness of the original metric ferrule, and also too, I really thought I'd be able to crimp that. It did tighten on there, but it doesn't tighten enough, and it wouldn't handle the pressure load. Okay, so what we're going to actually have to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to run the supposed to flare, but we went in and we took 100,000ths off of this face so that this could go down. We're gonna make sure that this, in fact, this stack up right here leaves enough thread. See, we got plenty there to tighten down. We can tighten. Let's get it in there laying right. Make it a real test here. Okay, that is in line, a little bit less, but we still have compression. You need to have compression on your ferrule, or otherwise you're not going to get it to work right. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and screw this block in, and then we will be able to put this fitting in, and then we can be back to where we were, and hopefully it will not blow off again. Alright, yeah, you can see they hand ground in an area here for the fluid to travel. That's supposed to go in there like that, in that position there, and we're not putting any lube on here because we know how tight this is, and we're adding extra turns so that we can get this really firm line to come out at that angle. So let's throw this in here, and we'll get back to square one, and then we're going to go ahead and put some fluid in here. And that's where we were on the angle. Alright, and we're holding this all the way in. It wasn't so much that too much oil went all splashing around. It was basically because it covered my glasses, and I actually had to go clean the glasses. I can feel it wanting to twist. I'm getting in there tight, and I want that. I want it to be a good fit. There does take a lot of pressure on that, but this line here is good for 690 psi, something like that. All right, now we're back at square one, and I'll show you. I'll replicate exactly what it did the first time. We're ready to go. You know, the more mistakes I make, the cleaner this place gets. All right, now we're gonna go ahead because that's got to be up there, and this is the fitting. It goes in here, and this is the upper connection here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and I think that stays right up there pretty good. All right, we got a piece of clear hose, and just happens to be the right size. When we slip it over that ferrule section right there, and we have our valves open, and our system is completely drained. We slip the hose over our oil can, which we have the hydraulic fluid that we poured out of that 5-gallon pail, and we start pumping. And this is kind of neat because we get to watch the actual fluids go, and it takes a while to fill that cylinder. You can feel the back pressure from it hitting the piston itself, and that spring ball valve or whatever kind of relief that they have there in the piston. Now we got the fluid starting to come out of the lower line here. All right, and it's going to make its way on up to the valve here. Here it comes here. Now it's cycling into the valve, comes out the other side of the valve, and it's making its way up to this fitting here. We're just slowing down, so it just seems like it almost like siphons out of here. All right, and we have it overflowing from the top here now. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this off of here. We're going to have this wrench here ready. There we go. You start getting oil all over your fingers there, and sometimes they don't work right, or I don't know what it is. Maybe the angle of the dangle. You know how it is. All right, we got the oil in there now, and okay, we tighten that fitting there. It should be a closed loop now. And that's not going to drain back there. So we're going to pop this off of here, and we're going to go drain this hose out here, because otherwise it's going to sit somewhere and make a mess. And speaking of mess, alright, so I'm going to get up out of here so that we can I can be in a better position to go ahead and test on the lifting up and down. Okay, I think you're going to be in a good enough position right there, and you can see that we're buttoned up here, and I'm ready. I got the valve open still, and I'm going to lift up. I'm going to pull my prop out of here, the hammer, and I'm going to let the thing down. And I'm kind of looking at the lines just to see how fluid flows through there or not. All right, now if all theories are fine and this is a closed loop, this valve up here can be closed. I was just checking to see if you can see what I was talking about. All right, and then you lift up the saw, and then it should stay right up there. All right, and we crack the valve and it should feed down. I can see just a little bit of air bubbles passing through. All right, I'll raise it up again. When the spring tension, I can really feel that you kick yourself. Okay, I had that line blow off. I got into hydraulics and everything else because I was trying to use the Chinese ferrule, okay, and it bit me in the ass. So I should have said, hey, it wasn't going in far enough, and go ahead and mill off 100,000 off of that fitting and put in the 3/8 ferrule that matches the hose. Okay, so the inserts, we went ahead and reamed out the standard hose and got those to sit inside, and the 3/8 ferrules using the metric fittings, which is nothing wrong with them. You know, they're metric sizes. That's all. All right, and we can do away with the other ferrules. And I don't know, maybe this project here, I'd have to double check on it. I will look it up on the book so I got the right figures and everything else in there. But this is probably, I don't know, maybe a $25, $30 repair. Okay, I went and got my notes there just so while I was doing the video and I was out here, I was actually giving you some numbers anyway. That of course it came in a 25-foot piece. Okay, so I had to buy 25 foot, but it was 75 cents a foot, and the ferrules came in a pack of 10 at $2.54, and even if you add tax and the shipping on that, it was probably right around 25 bucks. All right, so that's a good fix. I'm going to put a couple zip ties on here and everything else, but I'm really glad that I'm able to go ahead. I got to do something with the spring tension down there because I like it to come up. It does hold, and then I do have the control right on it, like I need. All right, now the next thing I'm going to adjust is the on and off for it, but I do have the electrical hooked up, and I did unplug it while we had it up in the air and safety and all of that good stuff, and we do have power. The guard and stuff like that on the back side there is kind of rattly, and I have two new blades. I bought two different configurations because I wanted when you start getting into a big saw, the number of teeth in contact at any one or per inch in diameter is very important on your saw. And I'm not even paying attention to what speeds it's in right now, and I'll be changing all of that around. I'm going to get in here and get some of this cleaned up. I haven't looked at the when I pulled the first blade off of here. This handle is broke over here. I need to make a new handle there, and I'm going to do something with that down there. The sump pump is coming on. I've actually verified that. I can see the solenoid or the magnetic switch in the box. I can see it working, and I can feel it vibrating down there. But I'm going to clean out that coolant. Some of it's pretty nasty. This whole thing needs kind of a good bath, and I'm going to go ahead and keep the same colors. This is the fourth Inco major product that I actually own, and the foot shear, finger brake, and rollers, I've been pretty happy with it. They are worth the money that you spend on it. So in general, and also my phase 2 index head and my phase 2 rotary table. Those are products from China that I've been happy with. For how much you pay for them, I've been real happy with them, and I haven't had any heartburn on them. if I see a little thing just like this on here, I change it out. If something's not right with them, change it out. The other things, most of the older Inco stuff is better than any of the newer stuff, but that's for the manufacturers from every country. Seems like the quality of the product is being sacrificed for the dollar. It's just the way it is. All right, so thanks John for the song. You can see that I'm actually getting it going, and the American crane job, that one slug there, I am going to have to cut that, and it's going to be probably it's actually Amos, the electrician, needs a couple pieces of plate cut and welded together for a project he has going on, and that's actually going to be the first project, but the second project will probably be the American crane job. And as we're going to get it all functioning and running, cleaned up, and then we'll paint. We'll pull the blade off and we'll get in here and paint it. Looks like there's some debris and shit in there. Looks like there's some debris and stuff in there. We're gonna, all in all, it's coming along. But there's one fix it, and that was a problem that was a little easier than I thought it would be. Hey, that is too cool. All right, couple old lines. Hey, you know they've seen their day. All right, and my first attempt of fixing was cut that line back and reinsert and put the ferrule back on and get it in there. All right, that's immediately when you start wasting time. Okay, I had a little bit of learning curve, and I figured out a good combination on the lines, what to do. I showed you step by step how I got through there. And actually, I had a couple steps that I had a dead battery that missed some, and I had a memory card that overfilled, and you actually didn't get to see the hydraulic fluid spray across my face because the line blew off, and I was sitting there and I let the pressure down on it, and and luckily I had some rags and stuff down there. I didn't get oil all over the place there, and you can see it was the start of cleaning up. So I got the fluid around there, and then I had to wipe it up. So this pan over here shows you what the pan actually looked like all the way around, and so we got that kind of cleaned up. All right, until we get on to the next phase of replacement here, this guard here, there's some other things that on here that need to be seriously looked at, and we'll be modifying and getting them going. But it looks like we got power, and we got feed control, and the next thing is to look into the sump and get some coolant flowing on here. And we have a new attachment. We're gonna put that, get that feeding down on the saw. All right, and new casters on here because we're gonna want to store this against the wall and be able to swing it out when we need to cut long lengths in there. Space is inevitably your worst enemy or your best friend, whether you have it or don't have it. All right, get her done. All right, over the holiday we went ahead and we finished kind of detailing out. We did get our lines put in here, and I had a problem with the little fitting down here leaking, and we were getting some fluid. But in doing all of that, I also learned that when it comes to bleeding the system, exactly like I showed you that we bled it, but we raised the thing all the way up and put a board underneath it in the full extension, and we bled it at that point. That completely lets you cycle, so there is no air bubbles at all. And now we just tighten up our feed there, and we can raise this thing right up, and it stays 100% right up in the air. So we are 100% on our hydraulics now, and we've had it up in the air for a whole day. And I just let it down just now, and just to show you the operations here. And we went ahead and tensioned up our, we put new casters on this thing as well. You see how nice and easy this rolls? So we got, and they are Chinese casters, so they match. We went down to the Cape Home Center and we laid out all the casters in the whole thing, and we rolled them, and we took the 4 that turned the truest, not true, truest. All right, and we went ahead and we tensioned our spring back here, and we can just bleed off the hydraulics now, and we have full feed control of the saw. All right, we went ahead and we tensioned up our spring back down here, and we can loosen off the hydraulic lock there, and we have full control of the saw now and the downward feed, and we could stop it wherever we want, and we can also just barely creep this, or we can have the full drop, and we don't want that extending right away anyway. We also set our motor. And that stops when it's down at the desired level there. The vibration, now we got to get into this right here. We have a little misalignment on the motor and the pulley, and this shroud is kind of loose, and we haven't got to that point yet, but we're working on it. We're getting it close. The main thing is we do have the hydraulics already done. We're going to be making a couple hand controls. The thing really rolls around freely, so we're going to be adding another board out here, and we want to store our saw like this. It's a room thing. You need to be able to get it out, use it, and put it back. And now we'll be able to go ahead and just roll this thing right on out, get our stands, put our material on it, and use it. So we are making headway on our freebie saw here, and minimum money so far into doing any repairs.